But also, 2 video games nowadays are so advanced they are similar to films. 3, you can also say stuff like that about Jurassic Park or Lord of the... Damn it, fuck. Fourth, how is the action bad? We see Anakin fights enemies and dodge obstacles. It is fast, with lots of danger and the use of the Force, and lightsaber as well as many different machinery that is a danger. And the special effects are detailed and rough, and three-dimensional. Yeah, people again complain about the CGI in this, though it comes from ILM, the best company who also did the effects for films people praise, like T2, The Abyss, Jurassic Park, Death Becomes Her, Forrest Gump, etc. They took their time on this and had one of the highest budgets out there. And come on, really? The ships had shadows, the buildings are rough and three-dimensional. There are all kinds of ripples on the arena stones and the machinery in the factory. There is smoke during fights. The seawater is moist, the droids are harsh, the Nosians, their wings move faster when they're less flexible arms. Watto had a rough skin and lightning reflects on the rainy windows on Camino. In the temple, the metal was more clean, as the temple just had a more clean design, as it is in temple, and the background looked more shiny where the lighting reflected, and it had more attention-grabbing lighting shining in due to the contrast with the dark, and it still looked three-dimensional, and the Senate pods looked rough and have depth, and the pillars in the temple had dirt on them. Coruscant really has just as much detail as Blade Runner, and the arena was as detailed as the arena in Gladiator. Palpatine's office reacts to the light from outside, has saturated wall colors in the elevator, had glass with mass and size. The glass had real lightness. Anakin actually had trouble riding on the Rhino, and that really supported on. The waterfalls had saturated colors. Oh, and on Geonosis, the waves did have grip. Oh, and they actually shook when the ship got hit by the laser. And on Camino, the clones all move fluently and have thick, hard suits. Oh, and the scene on Geonosis in the desert didn't look as rough as the scene in the cave on Episode 4, indeed, because it was sand, not rocks. The CGI does look amazing. These films have some of the best special visual effects of all time. Just because you don't like CGI, there is a difference between CGI you don't like because you just don't like CGI and really bad CGI. Okay, so let's see. Oh, the film could look too pretty. Well, this is paradise, and still has to be hurt by war. And the effect of that you will see in the looks of the battlefields on Atapu and the destroyed Jedi Temple in the third movie. The beauty adds to the more optimistic feel of the first two films. So Matthew complained we never saw other Jedi being arrogant. We just saw them sitting in chairs. Well, yeah, because it is off-screen issue. It's just a minor issue. They can also develop all individual Jedi. We never saw the individual rebels getting a lot of development. Oh, and Dooku was arrogant, and Mace Windu became so and remembers Qui-Gon, so we did see that quite a bit. Lastly, on the dialogue, Matthew calls the dialogue between Jango and Obi-Wan tedious and pointless. Well, it starts off with Obi-Wan just praising Jango on the clones as he is trying to be unassuming, and when Jango said he's trying to make his way in the universe, Obi-Wan immediately asks if he ever got as far as Coruscant, so he's casually questioning him on whether he might be the assassin. And Jango stays vague and cryptic. This builds tension, and it shows the two characters are both self-confident and calm, and it is also witty, and Obi-Wan asking if he ever got to Coruscant and being very official, talking about the interior, and Jango staying very cryptic, saying once or twice, and Obi-Wan asking recently, and then he possibly, it does show how both are very sharply paying attention, and that the two are secretive while being very dark. And it was actually a witty conversation, but apparently you can't have them talk about it in a way that shows the characters being manipulative, making the dialogue fit the characters. But you need to condense it in just a few lines and just flat out say stuff. Weren't you criticizing the film for that? And it isn't pointless as Obi-Wan tries to find out if he indeed worked for Sifo Dyas, and Jango acts like he worked for someone else, which he did, which Obi-Wan disregards as he thinks Jango is trying to cover up that he is secretly working for multiple people, and Jango assures him the clones will do their job, trying to act like the army is legit, and Jango doesn't seem to reveal any manipulative purpose of them and seems to have created a genuine army. So it develops the characters and conveys plot information. And it also builds tension as the two guys are really suspicious of each other, but I guess taking at least 2 minutes for that is too long. Okay, reviewer 1, when can I stop? Oh, he says when all aspects of the film in episode 3 have been defended, then I have his permission to die. Well, thank you. Hey, wait! What a psycho. So let's see. Let's defend more dialogue. Man, am I tired. Oh, viewer 1 suggests eating a cat's heart will give me more energy. Okay. Well, Anakin telling they got into aggressive negotiations was believable, as he was a military way of talking, as he is Jedi, and it was funny. He was so enchanted with her, he didn't even expect he wouldn't get that at first. And Padme finds his honesty cute, as she likes honesty, and she finds Anakin being more of a warrior to also be interesting. And it is funny, Anakin says Obi-Wan would be grumpy if he saw Anakin using the Force to move that pier, as he is very orthodox and would be against showing of the Force. It shows Anakin can laugh and also be relaxed about Obi-Wan's strictness and be very relaxed around Padme. And he also has more joyful memories of his contract when Obi-Wan was finding his strictness fun, and that he has a sense of humor and can really joke with Padme, and joking about more strict family members having a problem with something is really normal and natural. Also, the conversation between Anakin and Obi-Wan where Anakin defends Palpatine and Obi-Wan criticizing and thinking he manipulates the Senate was very natural, as Anakin would naturally stand up for Palpatine, as he is a loyal friend and Obi-Wan would be prejudiced about him, as Jedi are quickly prejudiced, and he is very watchful of manipulation, although also very assuming, less unrealistic than Anakin. Also, the scene where Anakin and Padme are in the fields, how was the banal, boring, sluggish dialogue? Anakin asks if Padme when her first kiss was, and she is being secretive about it, and actually she doesn't know which people, often though when they feel uncomfortable about personal information. And Anakin figures out she probably just doesn't want to tell him, and then she decides because he is persistent to tell who it was and how great he looked, which naturally got Anakin jealous, and he was an emotional teenager, actually reacts quite brute. And that is also says it might have been smart to not become a politician, so he has some of Obi-Wan's prejudices. But he admits he does like a few, and like someone in love tries to create an excitement by not telling who he wasn't totally sure about. And Anakin shows he is skeptical about the corruption in the system and is also frustrated with many politicians. And it was very well written. He sums up how the system should work. If Padme notes the problem in a democracy is people don't always agree, and Anakin is a more extreme person jumps to the logical extreme conclusion. They should be made to. Also, another conversation that wasn't badly written was when Yoda meets Dooku, and Dooku immediately says he interfered with their affairs for the last time, showing he is very violent when he needs to, and that Yoda says he became powerful and senses the dark side, which shows Yoda, being spiritual, immediately sees he is indeed truly evil, and that Dooku shows his arrogance and obsession with power by saying he became more powerful than any Jedi, even Yoda, and when he fails, Yoda proves his spitefulness of the dark side, saying he still has much to learn, and we can see Dooku is incapable of admitting defeat, saying they can't solve the fight with the Force but need to use the lightsaber, and when that fails, Yoda says his old Padawan fought well, showing he does still feel connected to his old Padawan. And Dooku stating was just the beginning truly showed his arrogance. Oh, and Reviewer 1 wants to rebuke the 64 Reasons to 8 Episode 2 article now also. God help me, please. Which criticized the line of Padme at the beginning, I shouldn't have come back, asking how she could stay away from Coruscant while being a senator, maybe by sending a representative. He called Padme, asking who was behind the attack, when Yoda says he is glad to see her alive, cold. Instead of saying thank you, she would react inhuman. Someone just died due to an attack. Being more focused on finding who was responsible than being nice and polite is inhuman. I guess that is true. It is like if someone says they are being chased and will inevitably die a horrible, horrible death, and asks, so how was your day? You say, fine, thank you. Oh yes, ask that guy with the glasses. He talks so much like a real human being. Oh, and it criticizes the Jedi for sounding like they know it all from the security. Maybe because it's their authority department, any cops or soldier in the movie acts like that. Oh, and it wouldn't be subtle enough when Anakin makes it clear he loves Padme, as we would already develop what this was going to happen. Willet is our character's arc that isn't supposed to be a mystery, where the development surprises us. Character development is supposed to be comprehensible, and since when is teenage love subtle? Oh, reviewer 1 is gonna kill himself again. Good! Oh, and it is wrong of Jedi to be strict in talking about through betrayal when someone shows emotions. Jedi aren't allowed to show, and instead just make someone feel relaxed instead of worried about their romantic feelings, because apparently Jedi shouldn't be strict in spite of Yoda being really strict in Empire, and that coming with the department of being a monk. Apparently there was something wrong with Anakin saying he couldn't find a speeder he really liked and talking about how he wanted one with an open cockpit and right speed capabilities, even though it conveyed his arrogance and his being a very experienced and picky pilot, and how not serious he took the danger, saying it during the chase. Oh, and it wasn't badly delivered, he said it while heavily breathing due to the putting energy into the flying, and it said his really arrogant, cocky way. Also, it criticizes Mace Windu, saying his party is over, even though that is funny as it is downplaying a giant attack because taglines shouldn't belong in Star Wars. This bucket of bolts is never gonna make it past the blockade. Would it help if I got out and pushed it? It might. Shut up. Shutting up, sir. Ugh, men. Are we gonna have to do all these points to no? Thank you, Force. Also, the conversation between Obi-Wan and Mace Windu and Yoda is great. He is more naive and confused as to whether the Jedi ordered a clone army, and Windu being very depressed about it. Honestly, admit they had no authorization, and Obi-Wan acts assumptions immediately, thinking there would be no motive behind the clones being assassinated. Padme not realizing she is opposing the Military Creation Act, and Yoda is a wise master. He tells him to keep his mind clear. And Windu is very somber, wanting to admit to the Senate that their powers were fading, but Yoda is more cautious and realizes they would get more enemies when informed, and shows his pragmatic side, which fits how he himself acts too much on fear of the future. Okay, are we done with the dialogue? I thought we had already said the last. Yes. Hallelujah! Thank you, Buddha. Wait, that was never a god. Thank you, Thor. Okay, also, Obi-Wan didn't figure out the obvious answer someone had erased Kamino from the archives, as he was very prejudiced, assuming no Jedi would do that. He thinks too much in rules where a child doesn't. Also, Redlettermedia says the line between paying homage and ripping off blurs when Lucas takes shots at environmental aspects from Blade Runner and Gladiator, even though, as AVGM points out, the original trilogy does this in the same detail, as do many Brian De Palma, Martin Scorsese, Sergio Leone, Quentin Tarantino, just a lot of new Hollywood filmmaker films. Lucas didn't take the stories or characters or themes from those films and adds many new aspects to the environments and direction, which more shaped and larger ships, more colorful and round pointy buildings, aliens living in the ships and buildings, the bars having fun TV screens. Oh, Matthew says he had already seen this before. Yeah, about The Dark Knight, we never saw a motorcycle chase before, right? Because if you take the basis of another action scene, your scene sucks. Even when you have them dodge flames, they flew power couplings hit by lasers. Obi-Wan hanging onto a droid and getting hit against a building. The scene has Anakin fly down with his ship to make Obi-Wan landing easier. Anakin almost glides off the speeder and makes a quick dive down with the speeder. Even though it added all of these original elements, this makes it bad. And even though it added all the original elements to the environmental, some homages to Blade Runner ripping off, while many films did the same on both counts. And yes, an arena where you slowly reveal the whole environment from the prisoner's perspective was invented by Scott, not history. Sure, okay. It is wrong to homage previous films, even though these films are also about historical patterns, and Anakin experiences similar things to Luke in though Temple of Doom, T2, The Dark Knight, Last Crusade, and let's see, Back to the Future, Part 3, all did the same. It is part of the themes and characterizations here. Okay, sure. Okay, the pacing has again been criticized. Yes, the film is slow in the middle, but this allows for the building of tension to when the Star Wars series enters its big war and the deepening of plot, characters, and themes and the length of the film adds to this. It allows the film to develop all the backstory it needs to. Oh, and by the way, yes, this really is a commercial picture, being over 140 minutes. So, anywho, Plinkett complains this, unlike Empire, fails to tell a love story in the darkest of times. Well, if you think being aggressive is okay, but whiny not. Why not? You need to be a badass to make a romance interesting. Sure. and that this film fails to be the darkest in the prequel trilogy,